Rolling. All right, so welcome everybody to a house flipping case study. We're going to show you guys step by step how my buddy John found, financed, fixed, and flipped the home that you see below. This is what we like to call a bread and butter deal. Like you got to butter that bread. And to be honest, these are the properties that I cut my teeth on. These are the properties that I enjoy the most in terms of lifestyle and just ease of getting into and out of. I love properties like this because they are very, very safe in terms of, and I use that word lightly, but in terms of comparing these types of deals that are starter homes that are, less than $100,000, or I'm sorry, slightly above $100,000 ARV, but you can purchase them for less than $100,000. They're 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2 car garage kind of deals. Like I love these deals. I love these deals because they have multiple exit strategies. You can rent them, you can flip them, you can owner finance them. And like I said, they're good all around properties. So these are what we call the bread and butter deals. These are how I, once again, cut my teeth. And in our current market, these are the type of properties that I've been going back to. I've been getting back to the basics in our business and just analyzing where I've made the most money at, where I've created the most wealth at, and it's with properties just like this. So I know a lot of you guys who are on know me and know of me, and that's really good. But there's a lot of people out there who don't know me. So I'm going to introduce myself real quick. And so, whoops. So I have a company called Invest Home Pro. We specialize in real estate investments. We do investment property construction and, of course, educating. And these are all in the circle of the real estate investment world is what we specialize in, what we do. And that's my company, and I love it. Love what I do. Why I do what I do, mainly because of these guys. That's my family. Yes, there's 4 kids, believe it or not. And my lovely wife, once more, I'm like, oh my God, like I love my kids, but I don't know if I can take any more. Like I love them, don't know if I can take them anymore. It's like cookies, love cookies. You eat 2 or 3 or 4, that's great. But you get to a certain point, it's like, oh my God, I can't eat anymore, I'm going to get sick. So we're having the discussion now of whether or not to add number 5. And if so, I think we're going to go the adoption route because my wife and I are both plus 40. All right. I'm just going to leave it like that. Plus 40. Okay. I'm not going to get into too many details, but we're above that 40 mark. All right. So I've also written a book, not a very great graphic. I don't know what I put, but I wrote a book specifically on flipping homes because that's in the world of real estate. That's the thing I'm most passionate about is actually flipping homes. Yes, I have rental properties, do wholesale deals, all that kind of stuff. We're actually building new homes now, but flipping homes has been my business passion. And you may have seen me on the news. I've been called on the news several times in the local area just to go and speak about real estate and all that kind of stuff. And I do some crazy stuff too. Like recently, I got into a MMA cage fight. Believe it or not, at the age of 40, and yeah, like got into a cage fight. And I like to do crazy stuff and challenge myself, and that's why, like, even though at the age of 40, whoops, even at the age of 40, I am currently training for an Ironman, and I ran a half Ironman recently, and now I'm actually training for a complete Ironman. So I'll be flying out to Idaho in just a few weeks to complete a full Ironman. And people say you're nuts, you're crazy. You've had 3 knee surgeries, ankle surgeries, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, probably am, but I'm doing it anyways. So I also have an event called Breakthrough at the Beach, and this is something that I'm very, very passionate about. something that I'm extremely passionate about. And what Breakthrough at the Beach is, it's an event where we combine real estate training for men over a 3.5 day process down at the beach. We train men specifically on real estate investing, but we also teach some life skills and principles on how you can intertwine your business to create not only the ideal business, but the ideal life. Because one thing I've learned with real estate is that if you are, stressed out or burned out in your job or what you're doing, like it's just not fun. And more importantly, if your life's not structured for long-term success, meaning you're not doing something that you're passionate about and something that you love, then you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time sustaining that success. And so what we do is we create an environment that allows men to not only create wealth and create cash flow and learn how to do deals in real estate, but we help them put it all together. So at the same time as they're building this business, they can also build a lifestyle that is their ideal lifestyle and that's connected with their ideal business all at the same time. So that's what Breakthrough at the Beach is about. For those of you men who are interested, check it out when you have a chance. And without further ado, I'm about to get my man John on here. However, he's still having issues. So give me just a second, and I'm going to introduce you to John. Whether or not he's here or not, you're about to all meet John. So here we go. Here's John Thaxton, and I've known John for several years. He attended some of my events in the past, and most recently he came to Breakthrough at the Beach, and went through that whole training and that whole process. But he's a pilot, and he's an Air Force Reserve. He's a father of, I believe, a father of 4, and of course he's a real estate investor as well. And he is a real estate investor who's actually having some issues with his phone right now, and I'm extremely, extremely sorry because I don't have him on, but hopefully he will be joining on soon to discuss this with us. But whether or not John's here, we're going to dive into his deal. All right. So anyways, there's a picture of John. I actually threw this on right before we got started down at Breakthrough at the Beach because he mentioned it, not to put it on. He's like, "Are you showing the one of my bloody nose?" I'm like, you know what? I forgot about your bloody nose that you got at Breakthrough at the Beach. So I threw this picture on there. He took a solid right on the nose, and there we go. Who have we there? John?
Look at that. Yeah. All right.
Are you on?
I
John?
think I'm on now. Yeah.
Good. Oh, thank goodness. Well, you came at the right time.
I got you.
Your bloody nose picture there. Um, well, John, all I did is set you up, and so I will hand the mic over to you just to give a quick introduction of yourself, so you can let everyone know a little bit about you and about your life and kind of what's led us up to today, where we're doing a webinar about you flipping a house and making some money.
Okay. Well, I've been involved in real estate for a couple of years now, and as you can see from that picture, was an Air Force pilot, still in reserves, and I fly for an airline. So in flying for the airlines, I get to hang out with some guys who have some extra time on their hands and do a lot of different things. Some guys are astronauts, some guys are attorneys on the side, and quite a few guys are into real estate. So about 2 years ago, I was hanging out with a guy who just done a couple rental properties, and I was thinking about wanting to get into something that would enable me to branch out from the stock market a little bit and get some new skills. If I fly airplanes, I get the FAA to check me out physically every year, and if I fail a physical, then I'm basically out of a job. So I wanted to get something I could do to diversify my portfolio as well as to diversify my skill set. So I started looking into real estate, and did some internet looking and got into Bigger Pockets forum, and I think you'd made a post there, and I saw that you were from the Houston area.
Yeah.
Um, so I started reading your stuff, and long and short of it, I decided to get into it. Looking for a flip, found a house that worked better as a rental, and you guys did my first rehab about a year and a half ago, and so since then I've been gotten hooked, trying to do a fairly typical find houses to fix and flip, and in order to turn off money for buy and hold properties. Um, Started off working with trying to find deals from wholesalers, and then last summer got involved in my own direct marketing.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm moving in that direction now, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've done let's see, one rental property, two flips now, and um, kind of been involved in some other real estate deals, and on the helping out with the church, buy some land and set up financing and some stuff like that. So just kind of getting into it right now, and definitely on the beginner side of things.
All right. Well, awesome, man. Thank you for sharing. And I think you came on. You saw your glamour shot there from Breakthrough at the beach a little couple months back. So everyone can see with the busted nose.
You should see the other guy, right?
Yeah, there you go.
He was doing just fine.
Yeah, you took some shots, man, but you kept coming. So that's kind of like the real estate world, man. We got to take our shots, but get back in the fight. So, all right. So let's talk about your deal. This is the Elmcroft deal, and we're going to go over some basic numbers. So I'll throw those up, and I'll let you talk about these a little bit. These are all, I think, solid. Your purchase price 72.5. You purchased this end of February. Basically, it's almost the beginning of March, we could say. And the two questions here are two things I want to point out is, the I guess the two trickiest things to determine whenever analyzing a deal is, one is the ARV, although that's much easier in my opinion for your novice investors, and then for I know beginning investors are the estimated repair costs, where it gets a little bit even more tricky. So tell me a little bit about the ARV. Was that from your analysis or from wholesalers? And tell me where you came up with that number.
Well, the wholesaler was advertising it at, I believe, a 115 ARV, um, and from checking on the MLS and Redfin and some other things like that, looking at recent solds, that was really solid. There's a very conservative, solid ARV for that area at the time, and for the size of house. Um, Things were starting to trend up. There were several on the market that were pending that were in the upper 120s, but none of them had a rehab like like kind of like your typical rehabs for this level. Most of them were not rehabbed at all.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that I could stretch it a little bit. I was hoping to get 120, 125 for the ARV, and somewhere around 25 in repair cost was kind of my estimate. But I made a conscious decision, knowing that there were a few different things I could do in this scenario. I think I could have purchased it for 72 and a half and then just turned around and put it on the market for somewhere around 90. And I think I probably could have gotten a buyer pretty quickly
Yeah.
for that. But for a combination of different reasons, I made the conscious decision just to rehab it to the top of the neighborhood and accept the risk of being toward the top in the ARV. And
Yeah.
that's
So there's some really good teaching points here, and so one thing, like, you're right, in this price point, sometimes you can just close on these things and clean them out, maybe spray some paint inside, and you could list it and probably made some pretty decent money on this one. Could have even been comparative of what you did make. Generally, the way we make the most as investors, and I say generally, is doing a full rehab, and that's how we add the most value. But the other thing that's pretty interesting on this one is, a lot of investors and my students and even myself sometimes catch myself complaining about, wholesalers sending deals out on their email blast, and they're always overestimating the after repaired value, the ARV, and but there are exceptions to this rule, and sometimes people feel like they don't believe me, but I'm like, sometimes wholesalers get it wrong and they undervalue properties, and it doesn't happen. It's like, if it's the 80-20 rule, like, it's definitely in the 20% range, if not the 5 to 10% range, whenever they do under estimate the value. But it does happen. One of my the second flip I ever did, I made 60 something thousand on it, and it was because a wholesaler grossly underestimated the value on that deal. If he would have accurately estimated it, his assignment fee would have been much, much more. But the other thing that stands out to me is that, this is I want to pay you respect, because when he put the ARV out there at 115, it most likely, it was all based off of comps in that area. But you had the eye to see that, hey, these comps aren't really comparable, in that, a lot of them, I'm assuming, were a little bit outdated, a little bit dirty, lived in not a fully renovated property, or almost fully renovated like you did. And that's another thing. We're actually going under contract on one today, that we looked at a couple of days ago, and it's a solid $140,000 ARV. But I'm looking at the comps. When I was looking at the comps, I noticed that a lot of the comps, they're not rehabs. So I feel like we can push that. We could probably go 145, 150. Um,
Mhm.
at least, because whenever we put ours on the market, it's like, we're not the same as the $140,000 properties. We're much, much nicer and better. And so, yeah, there's a lot of really good teaching points already, right here from the beginning. And so, tell me a little bit about how you determine repair costs. Did you use calculators or just get bids? Kind of, what was your strategy on that?
I've done that. I've put together spreadsheets. I've used your rehab calculator in the past. I've taken estimates from, the kind of the full service wholesale outfits. Um, so those were kind of all going in the back of my mind. But really, what I did on this was compare it to a bunch of actual bids, several bids from you guys, several from other contractors on very similar houses, and it was almost like a combination of you know it was a fairly typical $70,000 deal in the $120,000 repair range that didn't need foundation, and might need a roof. And so it just kind of fit in there with some rehabs that I'd already priced out. So I didn't go line by line, look at every single light socket, or, uh, switch plate cover and whatnot, um, to price the whole thing up. It was kind of a TLAR, that looks about right type
Mhm.
estimate, but I was pretty confident in it based on very similar houses. So I was pretty confident that within $5,000 or so, I was pretty close.
Yeah, it's after I mean, even after just doing a few, like with me, you just kind of I estimate most jobs in my head, and that's all that I do to make a decision on whether or not I'm going to purchase it. And then after I've actually made the decision to purchase it, that's when I'm like, okay, let me verify these things. But it's just, we use little, what I call blind formulas, blind offer formulas, and just have little cost per square foot on most things, and then take into account the roof foundation, AC. And that's just something that comes over time. I don't recommend people doing that in the beginning, but it does just kind of come to you, and it's like, yep, that kind of passes the smell test, common sense and good judgment. Yeah, it should be about there. Let's roll with it. And then you always make sure that there's enough, meat on the bone if some things go wrong, and you can at least like dump it, or maybe you don't make 15 or 25,000, you make like 5 or something.
Right.
So let's
Um,
talk about. I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
Well, it's kind of a product too of looking at thousands of these and then running numbers probably on hundreds of them over the past couple of years and just doing it over and over again and getting kind of familiar so that by the time a deal came over over the email, I was like, yeah, I can tell that's a deal right now, and I don't have to really think about it. I don't have to start from square one of taking 4 or 5 hours to decide if that's a real deal or not. I've looked at so many that were so similar. Um, I could pretty much tell that, hey, I think this is pretty much a deal here, so I can act fairly quickly.
Hmm. So let's talk about, and you mentioned a little bit about finding the deal. Like, what was your strategy? On this one, I know came from a wholesaler, but I do want to talk about, you know, what led to, was there a previous relationship there with the wholesaler? Meaning, was it just an email blast, or had you been like talking to this particular wholesaler? Because I know sometimes it's, you have to cultivate relationships with wholesalers. And so tell me just a little bit about this one.
Well, the this wholesaler works for another guy who is um, I heard him on a national podcast a year and a half ago or so, and then I reached out to him, just through that platform, and uh, he went to same school I went to, a few years after I did, um, and in the same area. So we just kind of touched base with him on the through email, and then got on his list. And I hadn't really truly seen anything that was um, super appealing from them. But then, so I was getting emails from like, probably 20 or 30 different wholesalers. Somehow you just get on these lists. I don't know exactly how that happens, but um, they were coming to. So that's kind of how it happened. It just happened to come across my desk, and it turned out that this guy, um, they were definitely a breath of fresh air to work with in the wholesale realm, because they mostly, they have a very similar mindset to you in the real estate business, and they mostly do their own rehabs, and have just started to do some wholesaling of deals that maybe are outside of their normal area. Um, but just very professional guys, very easy to work with, and um, yeah, that's just. And I got the email, and I just happened to see it, and see that was a deal, and was able to be the first people to call them, and first first guy to go see the property.
Yeah, I prefer working with wholesalers that also do investing themselves. And sometimes, investors will say, well, if it's such a good deal, why didn't they just do it? Why didn't the wholesaler do it? And sometimes you'll get a deal from an agent, and they'll say, if it's such a good deal, why isn't the agent doing it? And the fact of the matter is one, like for a lot of wholesalers, even other investors and real estate agents for sure, I mean, they still need to put food on the table. And so if they can make a quick 3 to 5 thousand or 10,000 on an assignment fee, that's money they get right now versus waiting 2 to 3 months to, make 15, 20 or 30,000 or 40,000, what have you. And then sometimes with investors is who also wholesale, because we do the same thing. Sometimes it's just we've got a lot of capital tied up. Maybe we have 5, 10 projects going on. Maybe they're big projects. We might have like a couple of $1 million in construction going on, so we can't do every deal and make a little assignment fee. That just like that's what we do sometimes. So the theory that, oh, it's not a good deal because they don't want to do it, to me doesn't apply at all, because sometimes it's just they don't have the capital or the resources or the bandwidth to do those deals at that particular time. And yeah, and of course, if you can work with honest, ethical people who are helping create win-win relationships, like it makes it all the better. So I'm not going to call anybody out, but we know that there's some wholesalers out there that don't always adhere to that code of honest and ethical. So we got to look over our shoulders with each of these guys and do the Ronald Reagan trust but verify thing, because I know someone asked a question about is if we can ask a wholesaler for the rehab estimate. And the answer is absolutely yes. A good wholesaler will help provide a general analysis of the rehab costs, but like we're not going to take that as the gospel. Like it's up to us to do our own due diligence. So let's talk about your funding, how you finance the deal, and you've set. So I think I don't know if you set the record, but you've at least tied the record for combining finances to get a deal done. So I commend you for that. And I love this. Like you used a little bit of cash, you used a home equity line of credit, as well as a credit card, and I love it, man. Like I love it. Here it is, all laid out. Make sure you might want to verify these numbers, but I think I have them correct.
Yeah, I kind of assumed it was about 4% for the credit card because there was a
Line of credit.
convenience fee, so to speak, for using that. But I think it was like 18 months, zero in interest, but I think it was like $300 or $400 to use it. So yeah,
It's awesome, man. Like,
that's and I could have, I didn't really need to throw that credit card in the mix there, but um, I was sitting at home one afternoon, and I know it can be it can be dangerous, so I don't necessarily recommend it. But I was like, I hadn't really done anything on offense that day, and I wanted to do something on offense just about every day. That's kind of how I put it. So I figured I'd sit down for an hour and see what I could do about lining up some zero interest credit cards, and just within an hour or so, I came up with about $37,000 of in four zero interest credit cards. That at least I had available. I don't know if I'll use them all, but I wanted to tap into some of that for now in a conservative way, but open some of that up. So yeah, it's cash in the HELOC and a little bit of credit card in there just for the heck of it.
so for me, it makes total sense. And I always, go back to the very first deal that I ever did was like I used a credit card to buy my first investment property because I didn't have any money. We're broke living in that apartment and I wanted to do real estate. And the first deal I bought required a down payment of about 7,000 and borrowed about 14,000, 0% interest and kind of deal. And fortunately, like I realized like, oh, at this rate I can buy two houses and I'm done. So I got real creative and figured out a way to buy number two with no money down and kept buying no money down after that point. But I'm always careful. I'm like, I don't recommend that you buy houses, use your credit card to buy houses. But I got to say, if you've got good credit and you can get 0% interest on credit cards, like I still use mine to this day. Like we have a line of credit, we have a business line of credit, and so every now and then we'll tap into that, and we got this pretty substantial amount of 0% interest credit cards. So when we get real heavy and in the thick of things with all kinds of projects going around, like I'd rather borrow 50 to $100,000 off 0% interest credit cards and pay that little $200 to $400 fee, whatever it is, and have 0% interest, even than I would, work with my private lenders paying 7 to 10%. So to me, it just makes sense. It just makes sense.
Some things I wasn't sure of, when I opened up several of those was maybe if I was doing a different deal, the threat I was seeing was, hey, how's this going to affect my ability to refinance out of the house if I needed to? I wasn't really worried about that in this particular situation, so I just you know accepted that.
Yeah. That's something you have to take in mind. Like, say, for example, if were looking to purchase a new home or a different home, like for your personal home, or you're going through refinance process with investment properties or anything like where that your credit's going to be scrutinized, then you got to be careful. I'm not like we're planted here, and I do real estate and run my business and planted in our home, so I don't use my credit for anything. So for me, it makes sense. But yeah, that's a good point. Just like make sure that there's no other little um, issues that it may affect on down the road. Because whenever you do open up a whole bunch of lines and things like that, it will affect your credit score there for a while. But the funny thing is, I found out is that over time, and don't quote me on this, like get a credit counselor or whatever. But when you have um, like lines of credit open and credit cards, the longer that they're there, like the more your score goes up. And anyways, don't really want to get into that conversation, so I'll hush. But no, I love the structure, man. Like I love the structure. Like I said, if you could have thrown just one more in there, though, you could have set the record for our webinar financing. Like have four different financing options, but you tied the
Well,
record.
I will next time because my son wants to invest his lawn mowing money to the tune of about $1,000 to $1,500 next on the next project that we do. So
There you go.
so he'll be my private one of my private investors on the next one.
I love it, man. Like that's what I do with my kids all the time. I'm like, I ask them like, hey, so like if they make some money, they get like birthday money. I'm like, do you want to use it and spend it, or do you want to invest it? My kids usually just want to spend it though, so I haven't figured it out. So- all right, so, whoops. All right, so we're going to talk about the rehab now. I'm going to show everyone just run through a slideshow of pictures. You want me to stop any of these to point out anything? Just let me know. But we'll let this run through a few times. But like I started, I know you weren't. I don't know if you could hear at the beginning, but I told everybody that this was a bread and butter kind of deal. It was the old proverbial, beige, paint everything beige, and that's one of our mottos with, when we do construction and our own flips in this price point, this style of home, is we always like to say that you can have any color you want as long as it's beige, because
Right.
you know that beige works. It works for the walls. It works for the countertops. It works for the flooring, like the carpet, and we're gonna keep on using beige just because it works. We even painted on the ceilings beige. So yeah, so give everyone kind of your perspective on the rehab. You know, fears, worries, concerns, and kind of what actually happened in the process.
The uh, the bones of the house were really good. We the roof I was slightly concerned about, but the air conditioner was fine. It seemed to be the foundation, which was one of the biggest things I was kind of expecting would need to be done was um, seemed fine. So we just proceed. I didn't get an evaluation or anything like that. I just proceeded as if it was good to go and went for it. But yeah, I just wanted to do the basic rehab, kind of like you'd shown one in Southeast Houston, just south of 45 inside the Sam Houston,
Yeah,
um, that I saw right before I pulled the trigger on this one. I'm like, okay, that's what I want to do.
yeah,
That looks good, and
yeah. And we've
yeah,
been,
we just
we've been doing this for years as well. We've been doing it for years as well. Let it play again. Um, so I know you ended up using Invest Home Pro, but did you get other bids on the property?
no, didn't get any other bids on this one. I'd had other bids on some similar houses, a year ago or so, um, and for the level of service and you guys having your stuff together and just my trust for you and Chris, and um, it seemed reasonable. I know I could have gotten it done for quite a bit less somewhere, but I'm sure that I would have had some other issues that I would have had to take care of, and I just didn't want to deal with that. Paying maybe a little bit more for you guys or a comparable outfit um, meant that at least for this project, I kind of got to have Chris Atkins as my project manager without having to really have him on my payroll. So
Yeah,
um, that,
it's
that
like
was worth it for me.
free education and mentoring right there.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, well, one is if I were your coach, I would say still get some bids, uh,
Right. Right.
especially in the beginning, just to educate yourself. And you learn things like, the old adage, like you learn something new every day. Well, you learn something new every rehab, that's for sure. And then you learn something just talking to other rehabbers and contractors and seeing other bids and things like that. You get different perspectives. But yeah, so I mean, I appreciate, of course, the trust and the business, of course. But my thing is what I always tell people is because there's a couple other companies in our market that's similar to us in terms of service and product and quality and even pricing, in which pretty much those are the three main things you're looking for from a contractor. Is you want to make sure that it falls in line with your budget, the time frame, and the quality. And but that being said, said that you could have gotten it done a little bit cheaper with some other investors. I want to talk about the roof in just a second, but you could have gotten it cheaper with other contractors, I should say. But the other side of that coin, and this is where we get a lot of calls from, is from a lot of investors who will go like the cheap route, and they will go with the cheapest contractor they can find or one of the lower quotes, trying to save money. And I get that, but a lot of times they end up costing themselves money because either one of those three things, either the budget, or I'm sorry, most likely the quality of the work is subpar, or the timing, like instead of doing something in a month or 2 months, like they double or triple that time, and that ends up costing them. And then in the budget part is not usually, their quote is their quote, but a lot of the less professional kind of shade tree contractors, if you will, like they're usually not thorough on the bid, and so they end up having more change orders, or like, oh, well, that wasn't included, and there's all this misunderstanding, et cetera, et cetera. So one thing I want to point out on this rehab, though, is that was the roof when we started, and we ended up just leave this roof and then just pressure and cleaned it, correct?
Yeah, I think we replaced the ridge shingles.
Yeah, and so whoops. So I really want to show this to them, and this is where inexperienced investors may end up costing themselves a lot more money. We try to act as not only as contractors, but really just consultants to help navigate all the decisions that have to be made. And this is a big one. Like, a lot of investors would see a roof like this and they're like, oh my gosh, the roof's got to be replaced. So what we did is, any point like the apex up here at the top, like these are ridge shingles at the top, and those are generally the most worn, and they're what show up on inspection reports as like having the most damage. And so what we do a lot of times, if the roof is acceptable, and for us acceptable is if it has at least like 3 to 5 more years left on the shingles, we'll send a roofer over there to assess it. He's been with us a long time. Always gives us an honest opinion, like, nope, this roof's got to go. And a lot of times he's like, no, it's fine. It doesn't look so good. Just clean it. So we hire a professional roof cleaning company to come over and chemical wash it. And so we replaced all the ridge shingles, and it's okay. That is the same roof after. So you can see something like that. That there alone is several $1,000s in savings, and without compromising the product whatsoever.
Right.
So that's a big savings, and a big lesson, for everyone out there watching, is that sometimes a roof is just a little bit dirty. With a good cleaning, like, you can do some
Right.
transformation.
I think that really set the people who, set at ease the people who came to look at it. I mean, you can kind of see the house to the right, dark, and, kind of like the
Oh,
before picture, and same with the house on the other side and all the others in the neighborhood. So this really stood out in the neighborhood.
and like, so some investors would just not like, even like if the roof was in its previous condition, like, we're not going to change it. They wouldn't even go to the extent to clean it. But you can see what a big impact that is. So we try to look at every dollar that we're spending, like, what is the return on the investment for this dollar? And I think that's a big return on that. So let's talk about the strategy of listing it and marketing it. And I can't recall, I believe you have your license.
I do. Um, yeah, as I was doing this, I was kind of telling myself that this is my real estate agent boot camp house too, because the first one I listed as an agent just got my license back in the fall. So yeah, put it on the MLS, and that was pretty much the extent of the marketing. And
And
there was what helped me is that about a week before we put this on the market, an investor put another one that was slightly bigger, a few streets south in the neighborhood, with a comparable rehab on it. They put that on the market for 162,000, which was like way overboard for that neighborhood.
mhm.
And then this comes in looking better on the inside, slightly smaller, um, but at 134 is what I listed it at, and so it got a lot of action right away. Just within 12 hours, I think I had 5 or 6 offers.
Wow.
All those were full price on it. I'm sorry, 24 hours. Yeah, uh, 6 full price offers, and then one slightly over full price for cash. Um, and that was just within the that first week. Um, the that first offer was I didn't have a super good feeling about the agent who brought it to me, and sure enough, I guess 3 days later, they ended up backing out of it,
Uh-huh.
and I told myself beforehand that kind of hang on to that loosely. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah.
Um, so it wasn't like wasn't a super big deal when it happened. Um, but yeah, they backed out. Turns out, I think she had just been locking up probably a couple or three houses with um, to give her clients time to figure out what they were doing, and finally some other agent brought her clients a house anyway. So, um, but the very next day, I just called some of the agents who'd showed interest initially, and one of them said he had a cash buyer, and that afternoon we had an offer for 132. Um, and once again, that was a cash deal, so um, slightly under my asking price, but I think you say fast nickels over slow dimes and
That's it.
cash, and so I was fine with that. My profit target when I enter a deal, at least for now, and has been about $15,000 that I like to see before I pull the trigger on a deal. Um, $15,000 or 10% of the ARV,
Mhm.
and this was going to be a little bit above that.
Mhm.
So we went with it. They did the inspection, and the inspection, of course, inspectors are going to find quite a few issues, and then the agent, it was pretty good at embellishing those too, and um, they wanted to reduce it by a couple $1,000s and they'd be okay. Um, so I went ahead and, hey, if we can move the close up to yesterday, I just went ahead and
Well,
said I'm fine with that.
that's okay. Close enough.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
just a little over 3 months. I think 90, less than 100 days, 97, 98 days.
yeah. 97 days, and um, so kind of just internally, some of the things, you have a little, fear every now and then, and what if this and what if that, and that was probably the first reaction when I saw this long laundry list of items they came up with on the inspection, and maybe they're going to back out, maybe they're not. You drop the price 2 grand, we'll stay in. Um,
No,
and I
we,
just, that's just natural. Take a deep breath, um, and then just keep moving forward.
yeah. No, inspection reports, we don't have time to go into it today, but I've got a whole strategy on how we handle those. And there's really a psychology that goes into inspection reports from the buyer side and our side, the seller side, on how we handle those. And but a couple thousand is not great, but it's not too bad. And one thing I want to talk about is you touched on it, and I want to make sure everyone got it, because what you mentioned just a second ago to me is why flipping houses is really the perfect business model when it's executed properly. And you mentioned, there was a house listed for 160 something. It was not only overpriced, but you had a better product. And so what like really gets my juices going with flipping houses, if you look at it, like you look at it when the business model is executed properly, like you did, it's like one is we go in when we buy our home, we're buying it cheaper, most likely than any other home in the property. We're buying them super cheap, and then we go in and we put in, we do the rehab, which adds all the value. And then even after we've purchased it and done all the rehab, we can still sell our homes cheaper if we choose than all of our competition. And that's something that I want everyone to understand, is that you can't do that. You can't do that in most businesses, in most markets. You can't have a better product and sell it cheaper. And it's such a huge like aha moment. It's such a big light bulb moment when you get that. It's like, oh my gosh. Like if you execute properly, you're patient enough to pass on some of the bad deals, and you wait for the right ones. Like a deal like this in Elmcroft, it's a no brainer, and it's like, why would anyone not do this deal when you can buy it cheaper than all the other houses, fix it up, and then still sell it and make $17,000-$18,000. And who knows, like you probably could have, like in hindsight, I like to say, yeah, you probably could have pushed it and gone a little bit more. But
Yeah,
sometimes you may have just priced it exactly right. You may have hit the sweet spot.
I think so. And actually, I ran my numbers a little bit better last night. I hit right at 18,000, so that was kind of cool on the profit. But the I
Well,
was a little
it
bit
would have made my
concerned about
slide a lot better if I could have said 18K, but that's okay.
sorry. uh, the I was a little bit concerned about the appraisal. So that's an area that I want to learn more about in the future. And most of my offers were either FHA or low down payment, conventional.
Yeah.
Um,
So here's
so I just kind of didn't want to press the test too far in that direction. But yeah,
so here's the deal with appraisals, and it's a legitimate concern. But guess what? So let's say for example, if you wanted to price it at 145, and there's no comps in there to justify that price. Appraisal comes back at 135. Okay, so you'd still be happy at 135. You're only at 132. But one of two things can happen. Is one is your buyer, hopefully they have enough money to put down to cover that spread. Um, if not, you can drop your price. You can be like, oh, well, I took my shot. Like you could lower the price, and like you could give them a concession, just lower it to 132 or 135 or whatever the appraisal is. What we've done recently, because we've been pushing price points in these areas and we've been setting comps. But you're right, the appraisals don't always come back, and we had that happen recently, and it was about, I think we're about $8,000 higher than the appraisal came back, and so we split the difference. We dropped the price 4,000, but they came up 4,000. So, like to me, like that's something. If I feel it's like pushing the price like that, I don't want to extend the days on the market like super long. Like we like to have contracts in the first couple of weeks on deals like this. But if I feel it's reasonable, we get a good pulse from the market, then we'll go ahead and we'll toss it out there and see what happens. But nothing wrong with your strategy, man. Like I think you executed like a champ, and results are all that matter. Results are all that matter, and end up being 18,000. So that's even better. So everyone, I want y'all to pay. I want to share something with you about everything that you've seen in this video. And there's a few things that I believe that John has experienced that are become, like we call them, X factors to creating success in the business world. And there's several things, like the four things that really help to create success, other than just like A, B, C, one, two, three, like step by step. That's great. But all this, what you just saw, like with John's case study, it came about because he got his mindset determined. Like he's like, look, here's where I'm at. and got, if I feel a physical at work, I may be out of a job, tired of the stock market, don't trust the stock market, I've got to do something else. And he just became determined, like, I'm going to learn real estate. Like, I'm going to hop into that and give that a shot. And that's exactly what he did. Was he like went into it with like a determined mindset, and that's one of the keys. And if you've got a notepad and pen, like, you might want to write this down. Like, I'm going to give you the 4 X factors of success, and it starts with the mindset. But yes, like, you do have to have skill sets also. Like, what are the skill sets necessary to succeed in the real estate game, in business in general? And you need those skill sets, and you also need to know how to leverage the skill sets of others. You saw in this, like, John leveraged the skill sets of Invest Home Pro to help with his rehab. He leveraged the skill sets of a good wholesaler to bring him a good deal. Okay, doesn't mean that you need to know all the ins and outs and all the details of every single skill set there is to know with real estate, but you do need to know a general overview knowledge of what is needed to be done to create success. So after mindset and skill set, like, those are fairly common. Like, wow, like, nothing big there. But what I think a lot of people lose perspective of is the importance of being involved and being in the right environment to help create your success. Okay, and what I'm talking about now is associations. Like, who are you associated with and affiliated with that you can call to? Like, who is on your team that can help you when you get stuck? Who is there? Someone there pushing you? Is there someone there to encourage you? Where is it that you go to, like, if you have a problem, and if you're really, really committed to creating something? Like, what is the environment that you're around that's going to help you get to that place, right? It's kind of like the old adage, iron sharpens iron. And then also, success requires accountability. Like, putting out your goals there to a group or some other people to say, hey, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm pushing for, so other people can see that and hold you accountable. And then something just happens different when we put our goals out to the world and say, like, I declare this is what I'm going to do, and you put it out there and you take action on it, especially when others are holding you accountable. So those are what I call the 4 X factors of success: mindset, skill set, and environment, and accountability. And of course, when we're talking about skill sets, like, there are 7 fundamentals, just like my book that talked about the 7 fundamentals of a successful real estate deal. Like, this is where you get into the nuts and bolts. And the graphic that you see there is basically what John executed upon. Like, he started with a determined mindset. He created deal flow from some of his own marketing and wholesalers, getting emails. He was able to evaluate and analyze the deal to determine, like, yep, this is a good deal, I'm going to move forward on that. He was able to estimate the repairs, to estimate them actually very, very accurately. He was able to put together his financing, structure financing, moved into the rehab phase with a turnkey general contractor versus managing the deal himself. And then ultimately, like, he ended up in the income generation phase. In this particular property he flipped, he could have rented it, he could have sold it owner finance. There's a lot of things he could have done, but that was his strategy, and he executed it properly by following the 7 fundamentals. So what I want you guys to consider is, like, just think for a second about being coached by myself and my team. You mentioned Chris as a member of my team, and being coached by us on a daily basis with all the real estate investing information you ever need to know around these 7 fundamentals. Like, being taught every day about mindset, deal flow, evaluating deals, estimating repairs, financing, rehab, and actually making money, income generation at the end of the day. So what I've done is I created a training experience that's conducive to your success by combining it with the most ideal format, the content, the right environment, and the right pace. and the right pace, because there is a lot to learn when it comes to real estate. John mentioned he's been doing this for several years, so it doesn't happen overnight. Okay, so the pace of the content and as well as the format, watching a video versus reading a book. Like the video format is so effective in teaching because we can demonstrate with words, we can like verbal spoken words and show you pictures and graphs and of actual properties. So once again, I just want you to imagine like being guided along in this path to creating your real estate success without being overwhelmed. Like I talked about the right pace, just doing one lesson per day. Anyone can do that. Some lessons are 10 minutes, some are 20 minutes long. Like not a lot of time, but every single day you're getting this information. And there's a myth out there that talks about it as only like 21 days to create a habit. But the truth is, if you like deep dive into the science, it takes about 60 to 70 days to create a habit. So imagine taking 10 to 20 minutes a day learning a new real estate lesson where you'll be in a few months from now. Like you'll be so ingrained, like daily learning, and that knowledge is just going to be there. And so a training that we've provided has over 100 real estate lessons. We have private interviews. We've got dozens of forms, everything that you'll ever need, along with some other things I want to share with you. And these lessons, what they do is they systematically dive deep into all the 7 fundamentals. And we do this with the program I've created that's called the F7X Factor. The F7X Factor. It's the 7 fundamentals included with the X factors that help create your success. And this is an online training program, but we've included some things that will help you out with the environment and the accountability side. So this is actually a screenshot of what the members area looks like, and you can see on the left how we have all the video training. And all these trainings that you see on the left are actual videos of myself and some of my team members, but mostly me, teaching on different things, all the fundamentals that you need to know about. We actually have video training where like we're at properties, walking through homes, estimating repairs, just talking about rehabs, and like live video training showing you exactly what it is that's required as a real estate investor, but not just talking about it, not just giving you a book, but like actually out there doing it. And you can do this, like I said, just watching it from your home. We have forms that you'll need, like to me, the forms that you need in real estate is sometimes people get overwhelmed. They think they need all these forms. There's really only a handful of forms that you need, but we give you everything that you could possibly need in terms of forms, especially the really, really, really good ones and the really important ones. We have some forms in here that no one else has, that we don't release these to the general public, but you guys in the F7X Factor, the only one that gets access to these, you guys and my private coaching students. We do interviews with other successful investors. These are interviews that we don't put out everywhere. So you can see what's working, not only in our business and what we're doing, but I'm always networking. I'm masterminding with other successful investors, and I'll bring them in to the F7X Factor to share some of their success and what they're doing. So I talked about the environment and the accountability as well. So one of the things that we've done is we've created a private Facebook group so that you guys can interact with everybody. Everyone's in there posting. We get posts probably every single day of people just sharing things like, hey, I found this deal. I've got this deal to sell. Hey, what are y'all doing for private money? What kind of success are you having? Just cultivating an environment that's conducive to help you succeed by sharing with others, learning from others, getting motivated by others. Sometimes you're just frustrated, like, hey, I'm stuck here. Someone help me out. And then you get, boom, someone will post something. Like just a couple of days ago, you see this post that says, after about 2 months of taking action, I finally received my first check off a wholesale deal. I'm halfway to meeting the goal that I set for myself since starting the program. I just want to encourage everyone in the group to keep pushing forward and never give up. Good things will happen. Thanks, Brant Phillips, for your teachings. So this is a member that joined just a couple of months ago and is already cashing check for $8,000. I want you to understand and realize how important an environment like that is. And people will actually go into the group and post some of their personal goals for accountability purposes, to share with others, to be motivated, inspired, and encouraged by others. And I can't tell you the importance of having this environment, because a lot of online programs just have training. They only help you improve your skill set, and that's it. But when you combine these other X factors, I like to call them, like, that's what you need to create a profitable and sustainable business over the long term. And that's what we've put together in the F7 X factor. So something else we do monthly webinar training. So you can ask all the questions that you want to ask. And we spend time, like, everybody gets on a webinar and we go over all the questions. We do different training, kind of outside the box training. Whatever it is that you need, wherever you're stuck, you send us your questions in and we go over all those questions to answer, to make sure that you're not stuck. Because what you begin to see is, whenever you have the determined mindset and the right skill sets, and then you combine that with environment and accountability, like, the real estate's not so difficult. It's not. Um, it's not. Anyone can create success in real estate, and I believe that real estate is, like, it's set up. It's set up for people who are willing to do the work, and just stay committed, that success is available to everyone. And I believe that you guys, not only, like, whether you were to come into the F7 X Factor or not, like, we live in the information age. There's tons of information, books, webinars, training, where you can go out and get all the information that you'll ever need to learn how to do real estate. And you don't need the F7 X Factor in terms of learning the information. And so, like, I have to be honest with that, because some people try to sell programs like, you have to have this secret pill, this little ingredient, the magic red pill, take this and everything's quick, fast, and easy. And truth, it's not. Truth, it's not. But what I found is that when you're involved in a program like the F7 X Factor, what this can do is speed up your success rapidly. Like, you saw the post on Facebook, just after a couple of months, he made $8,000. So understand that whenever you invest into a coaching program or a training program, the most important thing is that program going to speed up your success and help you to avoid some of the pitfalls that you may have went through, because I've went through all the pitfalls, and the pitfalls aren't fun, because I didn't always invest in coaching and mentoring like I do now. I invest a lot in my personal and business coaching and mentoring. And so that's what I want you to understand, is a program like this, whether you join this program or another program, it's that when you're in the right program with the right coaching, the right environment, the right accountability, that you can tremendously speed up your success and your results. And that's what good coaching should do. So by the end, for those of you who join the F7 X Factor, by the end of the experience and the training, it's so formulaic and simplified that not only are you going to be able to create results, you'll be able to actually go out and train and coach others if that's something you feel called to do. But the most important thing, the way that we teach, like, I want to equip you that you know everything that I do. I just know that I can't do that over a weekend at a seminar or a boot camp or even in a book. But after 3 or 4 months, like, over 100 lessons, like, of me just talking to and sharing with you, like, my intent is to teach you everything that I know. I just know I can't do it in, over a day or two or in a webinar. I can only teach you, like, a little tip of the iceberg kind of stuff, like we covered in this webinar. So I know a lot of you want to know about this. So the cost is $97. It's $97 for you to join, and $97 a month after that. Okay, dirt cheap. Dirt cheap is the way that I feel about this pricing right now. But you have to understand, like, we just created this program a few months ago, so it's in a beta phase. Like, we're building it out. and it's pretty much built out at this point. We're making a few tweaks and going to make it even better. I'm sorry, we're making this a better deal than most likely we're ever going to be offered again. Because after we make these few tweaks and with the training and some things that we're doing and we're still adding, we're going to increase the activation fee and the monthly subscription fee. But for those of you who are part of this training right now, if you want to get in for $97, you can do that. So for those of you who are interested, like what do you want to, how can you apply? You can go to the website that you see there. And once you sign up and once you join, you make your payment, you are going to get instant access. Like the training starts right away. Not a week from now, like right away. The training will start. But I want to tell you and I want to talk to you about something is just begin to imagine, what your life and your real estate business would look like if you join, to join this program and you just start to follow the daily steps. Like I said, we're not going to throw a lot at you. It's just daily steps. And not only that, for $97, I mean, first off, it's $97. John just made $18,000. John's a member of the F7X Factor. Montel just made $8,000. He's a member of the F7X Factor. And so with your investment of $97 a month, I want you to know that your satisfaction is guaranteed. You can take the entire class, you can put it to work, you can download everything. And if you decide it's not right for you, I'll issue you a full refund. Like, if you don't think that you've gotten the value and everything that I've told you that you would get, just let me know and I will refund you. And no questions asked. We're not going to be knocking on your door or setting up a call. Like, that's it. Like, I get it, man. Like, I didn't produce, and that's fair enough. You can keep everything. Like, you can download all the forms and all that kind of stuff and the training and keep it if that's what you choose to do. So just to recap, so what you're going to get when you join today is you're going to get in-depth training, video training on the 7 fundamentals. You're going to get all the training, the videos, forms, spreadsheets. I have live event replays of private money webinars. Live events from me talking all about raising private money. We've got templates. We've got things that you can use to present to private lenders. We've got other live event replays in here that you can watch at your own pace. Once again, like, we have monthly live training webinars. You can send all your questions into there, and I'll answer them personally. We have the private Facebook group access. You're getting beta phase pricing now, and that fee will not change. We won't raise it on you. It will stay that for as long as you're a member, and we're offering the full money back guarantee. And just remember, take the whole class, download everything, put it to work. Takes an extra month if you want to test it. If you aren't satisfied, you keep it. You get your money back. No questions asked. And so one last thing, this is very, very important. So I created this program with your success in mind. This is what I did. I went to the drawing board to think about what is a way that I can honestly and truly create a program where we could get 100% success of everyone who is a part of that program and is taking action and doing the work. And I knew that just cramming you with a bunch of information, just information overload, that's not conducive to learning. So that being said, for the first 90 days, we don't want to overwhelm anyone. We don't want anyone going too fast. So with this beta pricing, and even after the beta pricing, we're most likely going to keep the structure. We provide access to 1 new lesson per day. That's it. You get emailed a lesson. After each lesson's released, you'll have access to it from there on as long as you're a member of the group. So I want to make sure that makes sense to everybody. You get 1 lesson a day, and with each lesson, here's the thing. If I were to give you hours of training every day, guess what? You're just able to sit and listen to the training, listen to me talk. But you may not necessarily have the time to take action. So the way we've structured it is you get 1 lesson a day, usually 10 to 30 minutes long, but then that should provide you enough time to go out and take some action, meaning you watch the lesson, there's a lot of follow-up that's involved sometimes. You may need to send out some emails or make some phone calls or go, download one of the reports that we have or spreadsheets, and you can begin to get familiar with it and actually build your business. Because if you're just taking in information, you're not building a business, you're taking in information. And that's not what we want. We do want everyone who's a part of our group to have 100% success.
Here's what you got to do next. Just go to www.f7xfactor.com/join.
Just click on the add to cart button, make your payment, and get ready. As soon as your payment's made, you will be given instant access to begin the training. We've got some lessons that are going to be fired up in the queue, and then you'll be able to dive into the mindset training, and we're going to go through the whole process of the 7 fundamentals. So once again, I just want to thank everyone for joining us on this webinar. I want to thank John for sharing his deal with us and his case study, showing you exactly the action that he took as well as the results. And once again, if you have any questions about the F7X factor, feel free to message me when you get a chance. But I just want to say thank you for everyone that attended, and I hope that you had received tremendous value from this event. And if you did, let me know. Let me know your thoughts and your comments, and I hope y'all got a lot out of this, and I hope to talk to all of you very soon. Take care.